visiting the Clubhouse and revisiting App Store privacy labels. Welcome into episode 223 of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. I'm your host, Ken Ray. If you spend any time on the socials, you've heard people talk about Clubhouse. It's been around for close to a year, though it's really taken off over the past few months. We'll look at its safety, then look at privacy labels with Clubhouse as a sort of yardstick. Thanks for joining us for this edition of The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. What can I say about Clubhouse? From personal experience, I can't say anything. When an app catches fire, I tend to hang back a bit. I'm reminded of the week or so everybody used the Russian-owned Face app before wondering whether it was safe to use. Everybody was excited. Then everybody was freaked out. I sat the whole thing out since, to me, I already look too old in pictures anyway. So, when everybody rushed to be on Clubhouse, I hung back. I've yet to go in, and so far my life seems okay. Nick Leone has been writing about Clubhouse for the SecureMac site. He says Clubhouse is a social media app that facilitates drop-in audio conversations that can accommodate up to 5,000 people. The chat rooms can be either public or private, and as long as you have permission from a chat room's organizer, you can listen in or participate. Sounds kind of cool, like an impromptu seminar or presentation. I've heard some people say it's like South by Southwest on your phone. I've heard other people say it's going to replace podcasting. And I've heard that it is the second safest app on the App Store in terms of sharing your data. That may be true as far as the developer's stated intent, but there are still plenty of reasons to worry, including about that statement, but we'll get to that later. While the app turns 1 year old next month, it is still technically in beta. It's been growing like crazy since the first of the year. Relatively new plus exponential growth equals room for security flaws. And there have been some. According to the SecureMac site, researchers at the Stanford Internet Observatory discovered that Clubhouse user and chat room IDs were being sent to servers unencrypted, considered a poor security practice for any app. In addition, the Clubhouse API contained a flaw that was allowing third parties to scrape in-app audio and broadcast it via alternative platforms, something that definitely wasn't supposed to be happening. Now again, none of this is meant to cast aspersions on Clubhouse. Nobody's saying they're up to anything nefarious. Relatively new plus exponential growth equals room for security flaws. So what about the data that Clubhouse collects intentionally? The kind of stuff that turns up on the app privacy labels Apple now requires in the App Store. It appears to collect a lot of user data, according to Nick Leone, including contact information and contacts, usage data and user content, identifiers, and other types of data. Clubhouse also records audio from private chat rooms, though they say they only retain it temporarily and in encrypted form. Clubhouse says they don't share data with anyone, though they do reserve the right to do so down the road. The full privacy policy spells out how they use personal data, which includes sharing with third parties or with future business partners if the app is ever acquired by a larger company. Other issues that may be of concern to some users. Clubhouse has infrastructure in China. Clubhouse uses back-end infrastructure owned by Agora, a Shanghai-based tech company. While that doesn't make the company bad, China can force companies to hand over user data to authorities during a criminal or national security investigation. Bottom line, Clubhouse operations in China raise privacy concerns for some observers. Clubhouse also has weak moderation. While hate speech, harassment, and abuse are forbidden in the app's terms of service, people can be jerks, and some have been jerks on Clubhouse. In fairness to Clubhouse, though, you could probably say that about just about any part of the internet. So how does one use Clubhouse safely? This episode of The Checklist comes with a checklist. 1. Know that Clubhouse has had security issues. Don't assume that you're truly anonymous or that the things you say in a private chat room will be kept private. 2. SecureMac suggests making sure that you have apps set to update automatically. Since Clubhouse is still working out the bugs, the site says you'll want to get any security patches they push out as soon as possible. This you do by going on your iPhone or iPad to Settings, then App Store, and making sure you've got the app update switch toggled to on. 3. While anyone can download the app, joining requires an invitation. If you want to invite somebody, you have to give Clubhouse access to your contacts list. But if you're cool being there and don't want to invite anybody, you can keep Clubhouse from accessing your contacts. If you're in no hurry to invite other people, consider denying the app access to your contacts when you first sign up. And finally, number 4, sign in with Apple. According to the Clubhouse privacy policy, when you create your account and or authenticate with a third-party service like Twitter, we may collect information associated with that third-party account, such as your lists of friends or followers. So if you authenticate with Twitter, they may grab a list of who follows you and who you follow. If you authenticate with Facebook, that's your friends list, perhaps any Facebook groups you're in. If you want a safe, privacy-friendly login option, SecureMac says you can use Sign In with Apple. The safety of Clubhouse may depend on how you look at it and how closely you look. We'll get into that in a moment, but first a word about MacScan 3 from SecureMac. Recent numbers from Canalys say Mac sales grew 16% in 2020. Gartner says they were up over 22%, while IDC says they were up over 29%. No, they don't agree on the numbers, but they do all agree on one thing. Lots of new Macs in 2020. Apple says a lot of those people are new to the Mac entirely. All of that means lots of new targets for bad guys. Protect your digital self with MacScan 3. MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. It's developed by SecureMac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for the Mac for over 20 years. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full-range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your machine. Sign up for a free 30-day trial today at securemac.com/MacScan. Then once you decide to buy for less. You can take a little off your subscription to MacScan 3 with offer code CHECKLIST. Try it first, watch it kick those tracking cookies to the curb. Then when you're ready to buy for less with offer code CHECKLIST at securemac.com/MacScan. After everything we talked about in the Clubhouse segment, would you believe that Clubhouse is one of the safest apps in the App Store? Yeah, me neither. I came across a story that I was honestly excited to tell you about this week. iMore highlighted a report from pCloud, an online storage company that bills itself as experts in online privacy. We'll get to that claim in a bit. The headline of the iMore piece said, Facebook and Instagram, the most invasive apps on iOS, says report. Honestly, I have no problem believing that. Instagram is owned by Facebook, and Facebook's track record of respecting user privacy is, well, I won't say non-existent, but I might think it. Let's look at what they were trying to do. According to pCloud, we're experts in online privacy, so we looked at the concerns surrounding mobile apps, working out which ones require the most information in exchange for using them. By using the new Apple privacy labels featured in the App Store, we identified which apps share the most of your private data with third parties and which gather the most for their own benefits to find the most invasive overall. According to iMore, the report found that 52% of apps collect data and share it with third parties. The top two apps were Instagram, which shared 79% of personal data collected with third parties, and Facebook, which shares 57% of personal data collected with third parties. They were followed by LinkedIn and Uber Eats, who both share 50%. Now, on the one hand, this is valuable information. Honestly, the biggest problem with the pCloud post is what it deems safe. Which apps are the safest to use to keep your data private, asked the post. Clubhouse, Netflix, and Signal top the list. Yes, in case you're wondering, that's the same Clubhouse whose user and chat room IDs were being sent to servers unencrypted, the same Clubhouse that was accidentally allowing third parties to scrape in-app audio and broadcast it via alternative platforms, the same Clubhouse with infrastructure in China. That is one of the safest apps to use to keep your data private, according to pCloud. Because pCloud is only reading the label, which, lest we forget, is based on what developers themselves say they collect. The fact that the App Store privacy labels are based on developers' self-reporting has worried some for a while. It's not that everyone lies or hides what they're doing, but here on Earth, some people do. In laying out the methodology for its study, pCloud says the study used the new Apple privacy labels featured in the App Store, which categorizes all the information that can be collected on users by apps into 14 categories and how they are used. The sections we analyzed are third-party advertising and developers' advertising or marketing. To identify the worst apps for sharing your data with third parties, we use the third-party advertising section, marking each app out of 14 for how many of the 14 categories they track. The same was done to see which apps collect the most data for their own marketing, using the developers' advertising or marketing. They may be experts in keeping info stored on their service safe. I certainly hope they are. But if you're going to say we're experts in online privacy, then say what apps are safe to use, shouldn't you check what people are telling you? We know that Clubhouse has had some issues. There have also been reports of inaccuracies tied to privacy labels in the App Store. You may remember a story we did on the checklist a little over a month ago. Checklist 218, reading the privacy nutrition labels. We talked on that episode about a story from the Washington Post that had developers underreporting information gleaned, which is to say they were taking more than they were supposed to. The author of the Post piece wrote, I downloaded a de-stressing app called the Satisfying Slime Simulator that gets the App Store's highest level label for privacy. Turned out to be the wrong kind of slimy, covertly sending information, including a way to track my iPhone to Facebook, Google, and other companies. As he wrote the column in late January, Apple still had an inaccurate label for Satisfying Slime, and it wasn't the only deception. He said he and a techie friend spot-checked what a couple dozen apps claim about privacy in the App Store and found more than a dozen that were either misleading or flat-out inaccurate. What Apple is doing, requiring the app privacy labels, is a good thing. There may still be a problem or two, though. First, the App Store is huge. Second, Apple is relying on developers to self-report. Really, though, when another tech company brands itself an expert, relies on that self-reporting, deems apps safe without knowing that themselves, and then others run with it because experts say... Here at the Checklist, we'd like to leave you with action items, things that you can do to keep yourself safe. Here's the action item. It's troublesome and it's annoying, but you gotta read the fine print. Take in this info with something between curiosity and skepticism. And you know what? Check our math as well. Things change. Situations evolve. And though we do our best, we could be wrong. And if you think we are, let us know. If you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is SecureMac.com/checklist. There you'll find notes for this show, for all the shows we've ever done, and you can actually listen along right there as well. It all starts in one place, SecureMac.com/checklist. If the checklist does something for you, could you do something for us? Leave a review of the show wherever you listen, and please tell other people about the checklist. And thanks. If you have a question you would like to ask or a topic you would like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. That address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac. And we'll talk to you next week.